nice.
Hey YouTubers, Grimmy here, and this is the video review for the Fansprojects Crossfire Causality series Intimidator group, aka the not Stunticons. So yeah, this is a third-party rendition of the Stunticon team by Fansproject, one of the highest well-known third parties out there, pretty much. So let's just introduce the group as we know them. Well, as they're listed, you got Car Crash, aka Breakdown, Downforce, aka Drag Strip, Diesel, aka Motormaster, Last Chance, aka Dead End, and T-Bone, aka Wild Rider. Because these are third-party unofficial figures, the Fansproject could not use the original names, so they've been given other names to go with it. But all in all, the car modes are pretty cool, and these are pretty nice figures, very high-end and very good looking, to be honest. Now all the cars actually do roll well normally, and yeah, once you get all the stuff lined up correctly. But yeah, they do roll fairly well. Even this big guy. And this is a big one. As you can see, he is quite long. You can even more than two of the other guys long. Which is quite impressive because the actual part that transforms into the robot stops right here. This whole chunk of trailer from here back is all combiner parts. Since this is the Menasor combiner, like an unofficial Menasor. So you got the front half, which is the robot, and the back half, which is the combiner parts. I'm impressed that they managed to get everything into the vehicle mode, but man, that is a big trailer. Of course, you know, most trailers are pretty big, and it'd be very stubby if it was just this little bit. So, I mean, you'd pretty much would turn into a very uninteresting moving van, if you didn't have this part here. But yeah, Diesel looks pretty good. I do love the detailing. All the nice purple striping along the trailer. You got those purple windshields. Even the ones on the wind vane. Very iconic for Motormaster. And all the paintwork is very nice. A lot of nice details like the silver on the cab. And all the hubcaps are painted. So they really went all out for this. The Decepticon symbols are repro labels. I've had this guy for a while, so I just wanted to have the labels on there. But other than that, yeah, this is a really good Motormaster. Car Crash is also pretty nice. See, he has that classic red on the top, and he's done in a white color. He's a lot whiter than your typical breakdown figure would be, but you know, I can let that go. It still looks like breakdown. They got the blue on the bottom. And the paintwork is pretty nice. You got the painted windshield, headlights, tail lights, area where the license plate would be. Again, painted hubcaps. So yeah, it has a premium paint job. T-Bone, who essentially is the same. Hold on a sec. Part of his gun fell off. But you know, it's just like these guys had weapon storage at the bottom. And yes, you can see his robot head at the bottom. It's very obvious. But yeah, you got weapon storage. Same kind of storage with Car Crash here. You can see that the gun becomes the exhaust ports. T-Bone's the same, but this does not fit on as well as Car Crash's. But again, the paint job is nice. You got the silver stripe at the front, the iconic red windshield, and this really nice black color all around. No headlights painted in, but you do have tail lights. I don't think any headlights are painted in. It all looks like the same. So yeah, it still looks really good. I do like it. And Wild Rider is one of my favorites, so yeah. Last Chance is done really well. Molded in this nice metallic maroon. Has plenty of good paint apps for the windshields, parts of the hood, and of course that stripe. Another iconic piece for Dead End. So yeah, you gotta have that in. The back is done exceptionally well. You got this grill detail on the back, and you also have the tail lights. Again, no visible headlights to speak of. Don't even see them molded in. But whatever. And last but not least, we got Downforce. And yeah, he's done pretty well. Got a Formula 1 type car, very futuristic one. Only has 4 wheels, as opposed to Dragstrip's G1-6. But then again, the Combiner Wars Dragstrip didn't have 6 wheels either, so why complain about that? Again, paint job is pretty well done. You got that classic stripe on the back. Got plenty of painted detail. Well, a little bit of painted detail on the front. That silver picked out. I think they're actually painted silver underneath the translucent blue on those headlights. Hubcaps are done nice. So yeah, these guys are done very well. As mentioned, each one has its own weapon storage at the bottom of the car. Like you can see, Last Chance has his gun right there on the sides, as does Downforce. So yeah, you got plenty of storage for weaponry on all of these figures, and they look exceptionally well. So I guess I should bring in some comparisons. We'll start with Diesel here, comparing him to G1 Motormaster. And as you can see, the trailer is fairly in scale, like proportionate to what the G1 had. Like, obviously it's longer, but let's face it, this one's a tiny little truck. It can fit on top of the trailer easy. But yeah, you can see where all the inspiration came from on this one. This is as G1 accurate as it gets as far as vehicle mode goes. We'll also bring in Combiner Wars Motormaster, who is just a truck with no trailer. As you can see, the truck cab is considerably bigger than what's on Diesel. Although the color is a little bit more G1 accurate on Diesel than it is on Motormaster. Now, I'm sure the Takara one will be a little bit more accurate. We'll have that black. But for Hasbro's version, yeah, it's more of a gunmetal gray. But we'll get into him another day. Okay. Next comparison, just put him out of the way, will be Downforce, since he's right there. And again, we'll compare him with his G1 counterpart. Can see there's a significant difference between these two. I mean, they're both race cars, but the type is really different. You know, this one does have all the essentials that this one did, but it doesn't have the like this one doesn't have the iconic 6 wheels or exposed engine. But this one does have this more futuristic look to it. So yeah, it works out. I mean, you got the stripe, like I said, on the back, pretty much inspired by that stripe on the back there. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So next up, we'll do Last Chance. Yeah. Oh, before I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. We should definitely compare him to the Combiner Wars drag strip. Mine seems to be a little unaligned right now. Oh, maybe not. But, yeah. You can see the newer version of drag strip is it's more of the Formula 1 Classics type, but has a little more maroon to it. So, and you can also tell that this one's considerably bigger than this one, since the limb parts for Intimidator were about Scout size, roughly, and Combiner Wars limbs are deluxes. So yeah, this one's a little bit smaller. Still looks good. So get him out of the way, and now we'll take a look at Last Chance. And first compare him to the G1 car, which you can see pretty strong likenesses. This is a newer, more updated car than this one, but you can see the stripe is there. The colors are close, but Last Chance has a darker tone to him. But it is still a very nice resemblance, and I think Fansproject did a good job with the nod on this one. And of course, we'll bring in the Combiner Wars figure, who again is a different shade of maroon. But in this case, yeah, Fansproject did a better job with the stripe than the Combiner Wars figure did, since Combiner Wars Dead End only has a simple gold stripe on him, and doesn't have that white stripe going through it, unlike Last Chance here. So yeah, this one is got a nicer paint job than this guy here. Also doesn't have that gray breaking things up. So yeah, I'd say this one has a better paint job. So yeah, I'll get him out of the way. next up will be Car Crash. And first off, we're going to compare him with his G1 counterpart, which you can tell is a lot more of an off-white than the Car Crash figure is. Like, this one's a more solid white, this one's a very off-white color. And that's not due to yellowing, that's actually the design color. So yeah, the shade is a little different. The basic design is very similar. Like, this one was designed to be a Lamborghini Countach, much like Sideswipe and Sunstreaker. And this one's probably got a Lamborghini base idea, but has been modified so that no one gets sued over the car design. But yeah, you can tell that there was some very nice design choices made based on this one. So yeah, that works out pretty well. And we're also going to bring in the Combiner Wars breakdown, which has a lighter shade than the G1, but you can tell that there are different shades of white. This one's more off-white, and this one's that solid white. So yeah, I think that for this one it might be the weakest on the paint job considerations, just because the white doesn't quite match the G1 figure. But that's just a minor nitpick. Otherwise, it's a really nice car. And last but not least, T-Bone, or Wild Rider. So first and foremost, let's compare him to his G1 self. And as you can see, very close resemblances here. The red windshields, that silver stripe. This one has mesh into it, but it is there. And that gray is actually pretty close. It's not a perfect likeness, but it works pretty well for him. So he's actually pretty close to his G1 self. And unfortunately, the Combiner Wars Wild Rider has not been released yet. It's going to be like a special edition. So all I can really show you is Combiner Wars Off-Road, who uses Wild Rider's vehicle mode color scheme actually quite well. You got the silver bit there like that, red windshields. But this is a truck, this is a car, so there's not much really to say that would inspire, I guess. All in all, I kind of go for the Fansproject as far as look goes a little bit more. So yeah, we got these guys showing, but yeah, I think it's about time we got these into robot mode. Unfortunately, they're way too complicated to stop motion. So we're going to skip that part and just go right to the robot modes. Okay, and now we got the Stunticons in robot mode. Or the not Stunticons if you want to get technical, since these are unofficial figures. But yeah, we got Last Chance here, T-Bone, Car Crash, Downforce, and Diesel, all in their individual robot modes, and they look really good together. I mean, these are very nice little robots. The transformation, though, is very complicated. I mean, these guys are not the guys you want to have to just transform here and there whenever you want, because it will take a while to transform each of them. Especially Diesel. He is by far the most complicated of the bunch. In any case, they're good. If you like complex Transformers, these are your guys. But, yeah, let's start taking a look at them. We'll start with Last Chance here, or Not Dead End. Looks real nice, very tall, and does a good job of reducing the vehicle kibble. Only having some shoulder pads and some kneecaps. The rest of the vehicle seems to merge pretty well with the robot, so he's pretty solid. And the head sculpt is done well. It doesn't have the faceplate that most would count with Dead End, so he is quite different from the original. Of course, that is obvious all around. And that makes sense. Fansproject does a really good job of making the characters more like their own. So this, you could probably repaint this as something else, and no one would even think that it was supposed to be Dead End. So yeah, that's good. Now these guys are very articulated. Similar, I think there's going to be some significant differences between figures though. But for Last Chance here, you got a very tight ball jointed head. Like, it doesn't seem to want to turn all the way for me. You got universal, okay, yeah, ball jointed shoulders, I'm sorry. Rotate like a swivel at the bicep. A double jointed elbow. And a swivel at the wrist. He does have waist rotation, although the chest plate can get in the way of that. These actually move to get out of the way when you're moving the arms, which is good. He has ball jointed hips, thigh swivel, nice deep knee bend, and ball joints around the toe area for the feet. So you got a wide range of poses that you can get this guy in. And that is very standard for Fansproject. They're known for making very poseable, very nice looking action figures that happen to transform. We'll take a look at T-Bone next. Again, really done well. I love the way the colors look. He has a real sleek design to him, although the legs are, you can tell that's mostly card there, especially with the panels on the side. But aside from that, he still looks great. Now each Stunticon does come with their own gun, and it's unique to each one, so everybody has an individual accessory, which is great. I like that. I don't think they should have all the same weapon. For the most part, his articulation is the same. You got that waist swivel, you got the ball jointed shoulders, although he does have a hinge at the shoulder as well. He doesn't have a double jointed elbow like Last Chance does, but he does have the thighs, like the bicep swivel, and he does have the swivel at the wrist. So he still got a decent amount. The rest is pretty standard stuff, so yeah, he can move around pretty freely. And since the feet are nice and wide, he has no trouble standing. Now, Car Crash has basically the same skeleton as T-Bone. So there's not going to be much difference there. Still plenty of differences between them in the aesthetic looks. Because while they do have the same skeleton, their tooling is entirely different. Which is great. I mean, really helps these guys look individual, even if they use the same transformation steps. But given that he has the same skeleton, he also has the same articulation, which is a good thing for him. And I do like it. Yeah, like I said before, his white is not the off-white that we're used to with Breakdown, so he's got a little bit different for him. And I probably should do some quick comparisons. I'll get drag strip out, or downforce out of the way first. And he is another unique one. More in common with Last Chance than with the other two. Although he has an entirely different skeleton, I think. Yeah, I mean, he has done very well. I like how he has the fenders for shoulders. I mean, the front of the car actually makes up his shoulder pads instead of being a backpack. Like, the only backpack he has is the windshield for the vehicle mode. The front of the car becomes the arms, which is pretty good. Again, ball jointed shoulders, swivel at the bicep, double jointed elbows, and a ball jointed wrist. Swivel at the waist, and yeah, the rest is pretty simple. Although the only foot articulation is at the toe. And he doesn't have as deep a knee bend because of the way the transformation works. So he takes a little bit of a hit in his articulation, but all in all, very nice. And you know, that head looks really good. In fact, didn't really get into the heads of the other guys either. Here's car crash and T-Bone. Yeah, they look really nice. Real quick, I'm just going to bring in the G1 figures, like the G1 Stunticons, just to give you an idea on how they look next to the ones that inspired them. As you can see, while they do match up fairly well, there are significant differences between them. Which is okay. I mean, these are pretty much just figures inspired by the G1 toys. So they don't have to look exactly the same. But you can actually tell where the hints were taken. And I think the Fansproject Stunticons turned out well. And just for another comparison, for at least 3 of them, because Wild Rider didn't get a Generations update just yet, we'll bring in Dead End, Drag Strip, and Breakdown. And you know what? What the heck? We'll bring in Off-Road too. As you can see, there are more significant differences between the Combiner Wars Stunticons and the Fansproject ones. At least for the limbs at this point. we'll get into Diesel in a moment. But yeah, I mean, again, the Fansproject Stunticons are more high-end, more complex, while the Combiner Wars ones are a little simpler, easier on the wallet. But still, all are pretty good. And you can also tell that the Fansproject guys are a little bit shorter. But so we'll get these four out of the way so we can get into the leader of the bunch, Diesel. And oh boy, Diesel is armed to the teeth, as you can see. The back end of the trailer actually becomes the combiner options, as well as the weapons loadout for Diesel. As you can see, you've got two really large cannons on his shoulders and some more mounted cannon / missile launchers on his back, which really buffs him out quite a bit. I mean, he is armed to the teeth, ready for war right now. And all those guns, it's crazy. And then he has 2 shotguns as well. So yeah, he is armed to the teeth. Now, say you want to get these off, like you don't like them having on, that's fine. They come off fairly well. Like these, it'll be easier to take these ones off first because they just slide onto the back. Like so. Like there's some pegs on the sides that go into ports on the back here. These are a little more tricky because you gotta adjust them to the point where you can remove them, and even then they don't always want to come out because you gotta line it up just right. And there you go. And then you can just fold the combiner port down. Just flip it out, get it lined up properly. You can just take that off. And then, yeah. And those weapons will become the combiner parts. You can see this is already Intimidator's hand. But now we have Diesel a little bit more stripped down, a little more streamlined. And he's still looking pretty good. Now, Diesel does have his weak points. Like the shoulders, while they're up all the way, do seem to have a little bit of a problem staying put on the transformation hinges, which can make it kind of hard to get his arms moving right. Which is a shame, but I know that that was done so that he can have so many variable options. But yeah, he's all in all pretty good. And you can see that head sculpt is nice. Got the black helmet underneath the box, and then the purple face. He has those nice yellow eyes. Wish they made him red, but I can see where they would just want to differentiate him a little bit. Besides, I think no, that's all wrong. Okay. Yeah, so the yellow eyes are just individual for him. But, yeah, it's nice. I mean, all in all, the body is done well. And again, you can probably sell this off as an individual figure and not even say that it's a combining robot, and it would still do well because he is very well designed. But let's get into his articulation. You got a ball jointed head, swivel at the shoulder, in and out, so it's a universal joint. Got a little back wiggle. You gotta move the combiner port out of the way, but you do have bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows. Hinged wrists. You have a very tight, ratcheted waist swivel. Nice ratcheted hips in and out and forward back. A decent knee joint. That can be a little tricky to get back into place because it folds in better than it folds out. And then you got some ball jointed feet. Really will help his stance out quite a bit. So yeah, Diesel is very well articulated. And like I said, very well armed. Whether you want the shoulder attachments or just using those two shotguns. But for quick comparison, let's bring in G1 Motormaster. You can see where a fair amount of the inspirations for this guy came in. But you can also see that he differentiated quite a bit to really get himself standing out. Which is pretty cool stuff. And then we'll bring in Combiner Wars Motormaster, who's a lot beefier and bulkier when you don't have the extra weapons on him. But still, they look really nice. And the only, the biggest advantage that Combiner Wars Motormaster has is that he's a lot simpler to transform. This guy is very complex. He is one of the hardest transformers, or the hardest robots to transform that I have ever run across. So yeah, he is a very complex beast, especially when you want to get him into combine mode, which we are going to do right now. Be back in a sec. And now that we have Intimidator in his combined mode, he is quite the impressive guy. I'll say that much. He is a very impressive transformer. He's built well. Looks great. And actually works pretty decently. Now, unfortunately, transformation is way difficult and maybe a little bit too much for a lot of people, myself included. I don't transform this guy a lot because it is one of the most complex transformers I've ever encountered. And the final result is great. And the end result is wonderful. No arguments there. But getting there can be a little bit difficult, to say the least. Now, that's not to say that it's a bad toy, because it's not. Again, I'd say he's more of a display piece than a toy, but he's pretty good at what he does. So why don't we get down to his articulation. And yeah, we got a ball jointed head. I think it's on a ball joint. It's tight and it's in that little area that's kind of hard to really get it to move where you want it. He does have ratcheted forward-backward movement on his arms, as well as in and out. He has a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, wrist swivel. He has wrist swivels, it's just hard to get him to move it in this particular hand. But yeah, he does have them. Unfortunately, dead end or last chance's car mode parts are kind of in the way for the wrist swivel on this side. But he does have a waist swivel that's also ratcheted very heavily. And, oh yeah, he has articulated fingers. So you can actually move the hands around all you want. The knuckles are on ball joints, and well, each digit has a hinge in the middle, including the thumb. So there's plenty of movement in those hands. He does have forward-backward movements and script piece moves as well. In and out, thigh swivel. Nice ratcheted knee bend. A swivel below the knee. And ball jointed ankles. So yeah, this guy has a lot of movement to him. You've got plenty of options on how to pose the guy. But a lot of them are rather stiff. So you gotta be careful about how you move him, because he does feel a little bit on the delicate side. Now, in each hand there is a notch, or there is a slot, like a tab, and there is a slot in both his gun and his sword. Let's see if I can, as you can see, the gun has it too. And yeah, in his hand, should be able to see a little tab that those fit into. Now, honestly, I can only fit the sword in that slot. The gun, I just have to wrap his fingers around, which he'll hold it fine. But the sword's the only thing I can really get to go on that tab. But he can hold either weapon in either hand. So yeah, you got plenty of options to pose them with those. And the weapons, as you can see, are a really big sword and a really big gun that are all made of like Diesel's accessories. Like the sword is actually made from parts of Diesel's trailer, while the gun is made from Diesel's guns, along with some extra parts. So yeah, he's really well armed, and he looks good. There is some storage on his back for his weapons. Like, okay. Since he's about to drop it anyway. You can actually just store the gun on it, put it on that triangle shaped notch. I believe that's where it goes. I could be wrong. In fact, I think I might be. Yeah, it looks like I am. Okay. Oh wait, no. I see what I was doing wrong. Okay, it goes on this one. I just had it on backwards. And the sword. Gotta move that out. But it just tabs on like that. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure they don't really stick on very tightly. And honestly, I'm not sure if it's going to be the best way to do it. But it is there. We'll just leave him without the gun for now. He doesn't need him. He's a bruiser. He's an Intimidator. But let's get some comparisons in. Starting with G1 Menasor. See where the inspiration came from. And he's a much bigger, much beefier version of Menasor. And of course, since he's out and about now, let's bring in the Combiner Wars Menasor. Just one sec. I had to get him positioned right to stand. And I'm not even doing that well. There we go. Ooh, get these guys centered. Yeah. It's quite a difference. Now, I think Intimidator's a little bit taller. The Combiner Wars Menasor is a lot beefier. So yeah, there is a significant difference between the two. And I've said it on Menasor's review, but he's great for display, but he's better for playability. So yeah, I'd say they're about even with each other, but given the price and how this one plays better, I'd say this one would be the one to go for. Still, if you want Intimidator, you're going to have to go to eBay for him because he's been sold out for a while. And he's going to be fetching a high price because that's how Fansproject stuff works. Speaking of, let's get him with some other Fansproject combiners. We'll bring in the A3 kit. Like the Superion with the A3 kit and another add-on kit to complement it. And then we'll get Colossus in the mix too. And as you can see, if you really like Fansproject's works, their designs are pretty consistent across the board, so it'd be worthwhile to go for it for that. I do like how Fansproject does things. Unfortunately, I can't always go for their works because those things are very expensive. But if you got the disposable income, I'd say Menasor, like Intimidator's worth going for. But anyway, I do hope you guys have enjoyed this review for Intimidator. Please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to see more videos from me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, so long, have fun, and bye-bye.